Welcome to another edition of Extreme Talk. We're recording this on the Monday before our Extreme game of the week, and another special guest to have on the show. I'm pretty sure he's the youngest head coach in MTAC history. Of course, the new TSIAA youngest head coach in that association's history with the new organization and everything. But more importantly, a good friend of mine, broadcasted with him throughout the entirety of 2018, few games in 2019, and now he's leading the Franklin Classical School Knights to hopefully a historic playoff run, and we're going to see what him and the boys are capable of, especially fresh off of his first win against the Bowling Green Warriors on the road. Welcome in, Isaiah Austin. Appreciate your time for taking the time for the interview today, and looking forward to having a good conversation with one of my friends.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me back on. It's great to be back. I'm just letting you know in advance, Spencer, I don't know if I'm going to be able to one-up last week's interview. That was a great talk.
We always have good conversations with any of the coaches we have on, whether it's on Extreme Radio or if it's on a one-on-one interview. I mean, Coach Ferguson did great. That wise guy, but I mean, I'm sure you got some wisdom in that coaching cap of yours. But let's just dive right into it. I gotta ask, in 2000, actually, let's go even further back than that. 2016, we were on Blog Talk Radio as guests. You and Cole Warren were in the same room on speakerphone, saying you wanted to get on the show, you wanted to give your analysis and get involved as juniors in high school. Could you have imagined at all at 2016 your journey from graduating high school, from that point to graduating high school to being a broadcaster now? Could you have even imagined that you would have gotten to this point?
Absolutely not. And it really is such a strange, just several events that have occurred in my life that led me to this point. Going back to what you were saying about sitting in a room when I was 16, calling into 8-Man Extreme and trying my best to give my analysis. I was just sitting with my friend by the lake, Ben Salstron. I know you're probably familiar with him. He played several years ago, and he said, "How funny would it be if you tried to get on the show?" And I said, "That sounds so fun." So I shot my shot. You guys said yes, and it was all downhill from there. I loved it.
Yeah, to clarify, James was the one who said yes on that. It was still my senior year before I got fully involved with 8-Man Extreme. He took a chance on both of us, and it was pretty incredible. So I'll give you some backstory here. So for those who don't know, and those who don't go back and watch our broadcast from 2018, where we upped the equipment and everything. 2018 was the graduating year for Coach Austin, and that was the year that you went the same path I did with Tennessee Promise. Decided to go through Columbia State and get your 2 years out of the way, your associate's degree through Columbia State Community College. In 2018, you decided to come on board as a broadcaster. When you look back on that time from the path of our beginning game, it's kind of funny. You got your first coaching win a few days ago at the same field you did your first ever broadcast at, which was Bowling Green, and that was Bowling Green Franklin Christian. That 78-50 game that we called that almost went to overtime.
I didn't even remember that. That is nuts.
It was in the back of a pickup truck that we were trying to get all that to work out. It was that was pretty fun, but. Reflect on, tell me about how your broadcasting experience for 2018, from that point at Bowling Green to the state championship in 2018 at Christian Community and the All-American Games in 2019. Take me through what that time has meant take me through the experiences in that time and how they've influenced your coaching.
Well, it truly forced me to be a student of the game. I played 8-man football for 4 years. I was pretty familiar with it and how it worked and what works and what doesn't. But when I got into broadcasting, and I was pretty much watching every game in the league each weekend just to prepare for the show, prepare my knowledge so that I could go out and perform. It truly did force me to be a great student of the game. And I think that's really helped me game plan, prepare an offense, prepare a defense. It truly, I could not be in this situation right now if it wasn't for the time I spent broadcasting games. And when I decided to go to Columbia State and stay at home, it was a tough time while I was there. Obviously, I loved broadcasting. I loved being around Franklin. But as far as school and relationships and stuff like that with friends, it was a tough time. And I can truly say that all of the battle and all of the struggle that I went through there was completely worth it, because it truly opened up a door that I could never have walked through without those opportunities.
2017, first semester I ever had at college, Columbia State, I took 19 credit hours my first semester. And
I still don't know how you did
it. I don't know why I did it. I have no clue why I ever decided to do that. I'll never do it again. However, it was I could have managed it, but at the same time, it was full-time with 8-Man Extreme. Granted, we didn't have as extensive equipment as we were dealing with in 2018, but it was traveling around Friday, Saturday nights calling games, Sunday doing the radio show in Springfield at the time, and trying to balance my gas costs, my meal costs, all of that, and balancing a personal life and all that stuff. So I know what that struggle is like. Your first semester of college, or just first year of college in general, trying to navigate through life and learn time management skills and everything. So I'm sure that you could agree with me on that. Time management, it's not a knock on either of our high schools, but it's time management. You learn it. It almost hits you in the face at the collegiate level, because it's not as uniform with 8 to 5 days a week with the same classes and everything. You learn time management so much more in college than you do in high school.
Yeah, definitely. And it's not, like you said, it's not a knock at any high school in any way, shape, or form, because high schools are not geared to teach that. You're still a dependent of your parents. You still sleep on your bed at home. That's paid for, and food is on the table. Once you turn 18 and it's time to go to college, you're kicked out into the world, and you've got to figure it out on your own. And it is tough for that first semester, like you said.
It's incredibly tough. I hope any of the players who are listening to this interview, you've got to take it from the, I mentioned in the intro, youngest head coach in conference history. I'm 21. This guy's 20. And he's a head coach, and he's in his junior year of college. Definitely listen to us when we're saying, if there's one thing you take from this interview, be prepared to manage your time well, or at least learn that in some way, shape, or form, because it doesn't get any easier once you get out of high school. But anyways, so 2018. You win as broadcaster, and then we called that championship between Christian Community and the web school. And shortly after, we took a little bit of a break in after the All-Star game. Fortunately, the national championship was moved up there to Dayton, Tennessee, because of the hurricanes that had hit there. And afterwards, we took a little bit of a break in December, but went right back to it. You actually found out mid-season that you had your torn labrum from playing football and had to have surgery. You called the All-American games with a sling, which, granted, speaking is one thing, but I think somebody else had to operate the camera for you on the day. It's either that or you were one-handed operating the camera in early 2019. But talk about that experience with your torn labrum and going through physical therapy, because I witnessed that firsthand, that you were very strict on your schedule with your physical therapy and such. But tell me about how that surgery on your labrum really kind of shaped your direction going forward into your sophomore year of college.
Yeah, this is actually a really interesting story, because if you would have asked me, if you would have asked me a year ago or 2 years ago what my biggest regret from high school was, I would have told you that it was not that my biggest regret was not getting that surgery after my junior season and just holding it off until college. Because at that point, I had an opportunity to play somewhere. It was a small D3 school, and I probably would have been third string tight end by now. But in hindsight, if I would have taken that opportunity, I wouldn't be in the position I am now. And that's just one of those things, like, just small decisions throughout your life can put you in such a strange situation and propel you to your future. Because, Spencer, I'll tell you right now, it really is humbling to know that I am working what I see as my dream job as a 20-year-old. And that's not an opportunity that a lot of people get. And I can attribute that to not getting my labrum surgery junior to senior year. It's really that simple.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. Because like I mentioned, for you to have that surgery afterwards. Because I remember, I think this was the Sunday we had a show. I can't remember if it was during the playoffs or it was shortly beforehand. You would come into the studio, and it was about, I think, 2 hours before the show, maybe an hour and a half. You came in and you said, I woke up in the middle of the night in excruciating pain on my shoulder, like my shoulder dislocated itself.
That was the moment I knew I had to go get surgery. I woke up, my shoulder dislocated. I swung my arm back and hit the back of my bed, and it all swelled up. And I said, all right, it's time. It's time to just go get surgery.
It's time to just figure out what's going on with this. But
yeah.
So 2019, All-American games happened, and then we had the scheduling meeting, and there was a little bit of that discussion about sub-T joining. Obviously, Harding made the move to join in, and there were some other things like that. But to give you context to this, I was in the middle of actually the 2019. So 2019 schedule meeting comes around. Harding joins the conference, and new faces around the league. Providence was going to be in, but they decided to drop out, and just all the factors that went into there. And 2018, lose coach Tom Coughlin was with Classical, and then 2019 it went to Coach Herrera, and then you made the decision to join as an assistant coach on Classical staff. Tell me about how that opening came to be and what you learned in 2019 serving under Coach Herrera.
Well, I really wanted to get back involved with the program. I had been watching the program the past couple of years. I felt like I had something to give, and I felt like the program had something to give back to me because it is such a great group of guys and a great brotherhood, and I wanted to be a part of it and honestly become a better man from those experiences. So I went back in under Coach Herrera, and we had a really, really fun year. It was great to see things from a coaching perspective because I hadn't seen it like that before, and gave me a new perspective onto things. And I'll say the biggest thing that I noticed as a coach from that perspective is that as a player, you don't see yourself improving day in and day out because you see yourself in the mirror every day. As a coach, you can see even the smallest adjustments that players are making every day, and it's really, really exciting.
And we hear a lot in high school football, sometimes in collegiate, and maybe in a limited amount in the professional level. It's the father-son coaching duo it's a very special moment. But you had an even more special moment because in 2019 with your brother Josh in his senior year, although a year later you became the head coach, but in 2019 you got to be right there on the sideline and get a front row seat and get in free to every single one of your brother's senior year games. You cannot replace that. Definitely
not. He's fun to coach because he's a great listener. He always wants to learn, and honestly, Spencer, there's not much you have to tell to him that he's doing wrong. He is so fundamentally sound, and he had an opportunity to play at the next level, but he decided to go to Lipscomb University and help me coach this year, and he's been very helpful.
And and again, it's just you hear about you hear about father-son coaching. I mean, obviously you got Deuce Bragg and his father Jason Bragg at Lancaster. They have that special bond there, and then to have your older brother cheering you from the sidelines and trying to help you to become a better person. You just can't replace moments like that. But so to give you context, I was in the middle of a food delivery route during the pandemic when I got the news about this. I believe I asked you something. I don't remember what it was. I asked you something about FCS's football program or something about doing film or I don't remember specifically what it was, but I think it was myself or James said something about it, and we were in a group text or something, and you had mentioned to us, don't tell anybody. This is unofficial, but I will be the new head coach of Franklin Classical School, which was an absolute bombshell to drop on myself and James, because neither of us had any clue that Coach Herrera was going to step aside for his work, and just other conflicts that were going on. It's like nobody knew that he was going to step aside with new year head coach and everything. No one knew. So for those who don't know, how did the job opening come up? What was the context behind it, and how is it that you became the youngest head coach in MTAG?
So to my knowledge, it's really not an extremely interesting story. I'm not sure exactly how the job opened up. I can't tell you. But when I saw that it was open, I took that opportunity to show the school what I could bring to the table and a staff that I could compile. And I went in and interviewed for the job and got it.
It's incredible. It's one of those things of right place at right time, because you mentioned about your labrum surgery kind of led into your coach position. That's why you chose not all about the choices we make lead to the opportunities that you get. I mean, for me, it was 2015, 2016 when I started broadcasting for FCA, and then meeting James at a few games and starting to talk more. Went to several games to help him with broadcasting and all that. It's really a matter of what you know, but the choices we make definitely have a domino effect in the positive and negative consequences you get. So and especially the timing especially worked for you, because to be an assistant coach that year before, not even knowing there would be any job opening or anything along those lines, to take that coaching position so you could work directly alongside someone who was in that leadership position, somebody you could look up to and know what the standard needs to be, and know that, and especially to have that confidence of, I've been on the coaching staff of FCS, I know what this team needs to be successful, and I believe I could bring that to the table.
Definitely, and I truly believe that came from prayer, just praying that God would show me the direction and light my path, and just as a Christian, doing the next right thing is what I like to follow, and I don't always do it. Nobody does, but I try to do the next right thing, and doing so brought me into the position I am to be able to impact these kids' lives, and I love every moment of it.
That's what it all comes down to, impacting the kids and their lives for sure. So, of course, I wouldn't be doing any justice without going inside of the mind of Coach Austin during everything that's happened during the off season. Like I mentioned, this was during the pandemic when I was doing food deliveries, and you mentioned that you had become the head coach. So, take me through what your off season looked like, how you got your guys prepared with the less amount of time you had to condition, do strength and conditioning, weight room, all those things. Take me inside how you as the new head coach got your guys prepared and ready to go for the season amidst all of the craziness of COVID-19.
I'll say from my perspective, there were times where I was honestly a little bit scared. I was scared to have the conversation with the guys. You will not play football your senior year. And I know you probably dealt with this quite a bit as well as a broadcaster, desperately wanting football, but that feeling in the back of your mind of just,
oh yeah,
you know, what if it doesn't happen? What if we don't play football? Then what? And, you know, fortunately, we've been super duper blessed to play football here. From the guys' perspective, they did not back down at all. It was something out of a movie. They were practicing in a coach's front yard with 26 kids with a water cooler on the back of a four-wheeler with you know, it was remarkable. It was. The way that they fought through adversity, and parents parking in the driveway of the coach's house and watching their kids practice on a grass patch that had been mowed out, it was something spectacular. It taught me something. And I think as a coach, you know, you have to be willing to learn from the guys as well. And they taught me so much about strength and battling through adversity. And, man, as horrible as these times have been, I think there's a silver lining in it. I think that it shows us how strong we are and how much we can go through and still come out the other side. And the guys have really taught me that.
That almost seems like a scene that maybe a deleted scene from Remembering the Titans, where you have in the coach's front yard with the cooler in the back of the pickup truck and telling them you'll continue working until the very end. And I think you're right about the whole silver lining thing, because there's states that border us that don't have the opportunity to play football in their senior year. There's states bordering us that seniors, they're just out of luck, hoping that the spring their athletic association say we're going to play. Then it's incredible, you know, the attributed to, of course, Governor Lee and the politicians who have led us to this point to be able to. We're at, you know, week 6 right now, at least, of our season coverage, which is technically, you know, week 2 or 3 for most of the teams in the conference. But it's still incredible to see that we're at this point, and through the adversity that all the coaching programs have done, to still act as if they are going forward amidst the crazy times.
Yes, and I gain a completely new level of respect for the coaches that do this year in and year out. And obviously that's my plan as well. I love it so much. It's the only thing I can truly say that I am fulfilled at throughout my life, is coaching these kids. But it has so many challenges associated with it. And I truly respect the guys that have been doing it for years and have families and jobs. And it is remarkable to see it, the strength, especially from our league, to push through these tough times and get out the other side. And now we have a perfect brand. I won't say perfect, a great brand of football that's being. You can't play perfect football, but a great brand of football we're getting this fall, and that's just a testament to the coaches and the leadership.
Yeah, it's the quality of football we're seeing is pretty remarkable. It's remarkable to see, and the good branding, that's a testament to the players. Good coaching is one thing to bring out the best in the players, but there are definitely standouts per team, as you've seen with Extreme Players of the Week the past few weeks, and people getting nominated and such. Who knows, we might see a nomination for Classical. We're recording this on Monday, but we might see I could see the first Franklin Classical School player get the Player of the Week nomination and possibly get a victory on that. Who knows? But aside from nominations on Extreme Player of the Week, throughout practices, especially as a head coach, it's tough to get a feel for the room and understand which guys are your leaders, which ones are to step up, and which ones are the ones who are the leaders aside from the coaching staff. So take me in some of the players that you were really excited for from practice, and from the 2 games that you've played thus far, which ones are really standing out to you as not just leaders on the field but off the field?
Well, I'll say this. The first practice I came to, I pretty much laid it down for them and said, look, guys, I'm here for you. I'm going to fight for you, but nobody has a position. Nobody has a starting spot, and you're going to have to earn that through leadership, through going the extra mile, for being a servant to each other and working hard. And the guys really stepped up. One guy I'd like to highlight is a sophomore, Elijah Jones. He got a concussion on Saturday, and he's going to be out for us for a couple of weeks. But he was our center last year, and he was about 5'8", 130 some odd pounds. Small guy. He was our center last year. He is a fighter. This year he worked his way up. He started as our center. He moved to tight end. He moved a little bit to defense, maybe defensive line, worked his way up, and on Saturday he started at middle linebacker, and he did phenomenal, and I am so proud of him. Another guy, Josh Salstrand, Samuel Hubbard, Nick Geraci, first year playing football. Those are just some of the guys. I'll truly say, though, I'm proud of all the guys and the work they've done. They've all matched each other, try to one-up each other as far as work ethic and intensity. It's almost like going to a party at practice because of how excited these guys are to compete.
Yeah, and we're really excited to see them on Friday as well, and that leadership shows with although it wasn't a W, that close overtime game against Ezel Harding at home, and your game on the road against the Bowling Green Warriors to get your first win as a head coach and everything. It shows that your player base is already resilient. They fight back, and whenever they take a loss, they go back into the next week as we want vengeance. We want to get a W, and it's exciting to see how that's going to continue into Friday. With we were already talking about this prior to us actually starting the interview, but 58-50, the score from Lancaster and Riverside, and that game could potentially determine the number 1 seed tiebreaker. It might determine the number 2 seed tiebreaker. It just depends on how your games going into the rest of the season play out. And the same thing with Riverside's games. But but Riverside up 28-8 at the end of the first half on Lancaster at home, and Lancaster fights back and gets resilient. But Riverside continues pushing back. It just happens to be that Lancaster wins by 8. So you're facing off against a tough team who is a divisional opponent, always tough to play against Creasy and the guys that he has, and a team that is in the same situation you guys were last week, where you lost a heartbreaker. Riverside loses a heartbreaker as well, and both of you guys at home. So what have you told your guys, or what are you telling them? Obviously, we're recording this after your first practice of the week, but what are you telling your guys on how to get them prepared for this week and ready to go against one of the other jousting matches we have in the conference? How are you getting your guys prepared for that?
Well, Spencer, we've really just been telling the guys, I'll go back to this. As a coach going into a season, your biggest fear is that can the team put 4 quarters together? And at what point in the season will we be able to put 4 quarters together? I feel like our team has been capable of doing that, and the things that need refinement and fixing are small fixes. And so we've really just been hammering in on those and trying to perfect our craft. The toughest part about it all is a few injuries that we've sustained. So you're asking what we've been telling the players. We've been telling the players next man up. We've all been through this process together. We've all been working hard here for the past few months. Next man up. If you are needed, you need to go in and do your job. And we hope that we've prepared them to do so.
It's going to be interesting to see how they prepared for Friday's game at home, and we're really looking forward to seeing it. And I have to ask, first win as a head coach, especially first win as the youngest head coach in the conference. I know you told me this on our phone call after your game on Saturday, but how cold was that water that the players dumped on you after that victory?
There was ice in it.
It almost made you feel like the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge from 2014, huh?
Mm-hmm. I was excited because they dunked me, and it was a great moment, and it was a good memory. But the first thing I thought when that water hit my shoulders is this is going to be the most miserable ride home of my life. When you called me, I was standing outside of a Waffle House with the chills in Bowling Green, Kentucky, with water head to toe.
Oh, goodness! It's being a coach. It's a blessing and a curse at times, and that's one of those moments where you wonder maybe we should have a bucket designated as warm water solely for the purpose of dumping it on the coach, not grab the ice bucket.
Now the only lesson here is I need to always bring a change of clothes because you never know what's going to happen.
Always bring a change of clothes. So. Well, let me wrap it up with this. We've had this conversation a little bit earlier in the season, but just to give the public your raw answer on this. In 2018, you and I were a broadcast team, and we were in the booth at the newly built booth at the time at May Flanders Field, and Christian Community got their first championship trophy since 2010. And shortly afterwards, it was Franklin Classical who went on that 3 championship stretch, and that was 2 years ago. And now 2 years later, Christian Community is going to be the site of the 2020 MTAC championships, and you're now the head coach of Franklin Classical and a team that very much looks like they're going to the Division I playoffs, and very much looks like they have the chance as much as anybody in the conference for state championship. How much would it mean not just for Franklin Classical to take the tiebreaker in the most championships of the conference at the end of the season, but more important, but of course, how much would it mean to you for not just 2 years before and being a broadcaster in the booth, but I believe 2016 or 2015, either sophomore or junior year, you ended up playing Christian Community on that field and taking the tough loss in the playoffs. How much would it mean to you to bring a championship home to FCS after all those years at May Flanders Field?
Well, it would be phenomenal to do so. But as I tell the guys, in order to get to that, we call it the C word. Because I believe in jinxing things. I believe in it.
I don't blame
you. Speaking things into existence, or out of existence, rather. They say in order to reach that end goal, we have to go 1-0 each week. With how things have been shaped up with COVID and the contingency plan and stuff like that, we have 8 weeks with no bye weeks, and Lord willing playoffs. That's 10 weeks with no bye weeks. So we can't look ahead. We have to go 1-0 each week. We have to put the past, we have to learn from the past, push it behind us, and focus on this Friday. I remember asking the guys earlier on in the season, I said, who do we play next week? And nobody had any idea. And I can tell you as a player, I knew the whole schedule by heart because I was thinking about a couple of games here and there. They had no idea. And I think as a coach that was one of the happiest I've been with that team because they truly have to win the game 1 week at a time to get to that situation. And if we win each week, we'll find ourselves in that position, and that would be a great outcome.
Certainly would, and it certainly would. And regardless of whoever hoists the trophy at the end of the season, I can honestly say, not to speak anything into existence, but that would be a surreal moment for me as well, to be presenting that trophy to Coach Jordan Flanders 2 years ago, and then to present it to my broadcasting friend, not just a broadcaster friend, but now coach friend and all that. Just another one of the great friends in life to have. But like you said, 1-0 every week, get through the season, then get to the playoffs, and then whenever we get to that point is when we'll get there. So, but Coach Austin, Isaiah, I appreciate your time you're taking on a Monday night. I'm sure all the listeners appreciate your wisdom and getting some insight into Franklin Classical School's football program, and we're really looking forward to your matchup against the Riverside Christian Academy Knights at home. It's definitely it's always a great rivalry between the two teams, and we're incredibly excited to see what your guys you're going to be that talk about speaking things into existence. This is the first time you're going to be in prime time. First time you're going to be under the lights and on display to the rest of the viewership to see what you're capable of. So I think something special is going to happen on Friday night.
Yeah, Spencer, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. I'm happy to help in any way I can, and looking forward to this Friday. Happy to have you guys there.
Again, that's Coach Isaiah Austin for Franklin Classical School Knights. Thanks again, Coach.
Thank you.